Well, hello, and welcome back to Gearhead Geeks. Well, it's finally time to start working on the seat on this thing. So we have built a seat base, or a seat pan, and we need to get it fitted properly, bolted down to the actual seat base. And once we do that, then we can go on ahead and start the upholstery process. And to be honest with you, I've never done this before. This is a first for me, so this ought to be interesting. I have a sewing machine, which I used once, and I got some foam from uh, a upholstery supply place, which has got some pretty nice, decent foam. I have no idea how I'm going to cut it, so we're just going to go through this adventure together. So we'll get started on it. First thing we want to do is we need to get some wax paper, and I have some here and I rolled it out a little bit, and it's just plain old wax paper like you find in the kitchen. So the first thing I'm going to do with that is we're going to aim the camera a little better at our seat, and I'm going to spray this with a little bit of water, and that will help the wax paper just stick to it while we work on this other stuff. So to get ready here, we're going to use some wax paper, and we're going to put this on the seat so we can release our seat pan. I've already cut some fiberglass strips and a piece of mat so that we'll have two thick layers of fiberglass on this. But what I'm going to do here to make the wax paper stick so we get so it conforms really, really well, I'm going to use this mold release. Now, it's kind of I would just say it's just like paste wax. And I mean, that's the best way I can describe it. I don't believe it dries, but this is just enough moisture to allow it to stick, and just in case there's any extra that flows over, it'll release fairly easily. So we do that, and I pulled a piece of wax paper out already. I tried water first, but that really didn't work well. So we'll put this down, and it sticks very nicely to that. And then we'll put some more mold release on this, because this way we have our wax paper will come off as it needs to. I'm trying to keep it fairly smooth without it making too many wrinkles in it. So now I'm going to go mix up some fiberglass, and we'll start getting this cookie in. Okay, so it looks, I'm going to try and do about 5 ounces. Let's do 6 ounces. We need 8 drops per ounce of the hardener. It's a fairly nice day today, so it's fairly warm in here. So let's go with we'll go with 6 ounces. Okay, should be good. That should be plenty for our seat base. Probably too much, but oh well. We'll just load it up. Then the next thing we do is we got to go 8 drops per ounce. So we got to do 16, 24, 48. 48 is what we need. 48. Okay, 48 drops. And just a whole bunch of stirring. Well ventilated over here. The door is open. Okay. So this guy, and we'll let this sit right here on a paper towel. And then what we're going to do is we've got a brush, and we're going to take our seat base, put it over here, and what we're going to do first is we've got 3 of these. I'm going to put the middle one in first, and we'll just kind of push things down and just start putting it in fiberglass. Don't be too crazy here. We just want to, we're going to soak it in, let it soak, and it'll start, everything will start sticking. I don't want to move my wax paper around too much. Okay, so we got our first strip down. It's got fiberglass on it. We'll put our second strip right here. And we'll make sure we're covering. I need to put on some gloves actually here, but we're okay at the moment. And we haven't messed up with our, oh, it looks like it's laying down pretty good. So now we're going to put our last piece of matting down. And this is going to soak right on through, which is good. That's what we want. And we're just going to take and start daubing it on. And when this sets up, which will be, I'll let this dry overnight, set up overnight, and we will come back and we'll cut it. And I've got to go get some foam because this is going to be from scratch. I've got some material. I bought a sewing machine, and we're just gonna go for it. So we're all experimenting together. So I have got zero experience making a seat from scratch. At least the seat, the upholstered part of the seat. I've made seats before, and I did do a little bit of sewing on another bike, but I just took another seat and kind of re-sewed a seam around it. And we're almost ready here. Let's just pour this stuff in, get it all out of here, and we are good to go. So now we've got our seat pan fiberglassed. We're going to let it set up overnight so it's easy to work with, but it's got plenty of fiberglass on there. The seat pan will be nice and solid. We've got some adjusting to do to make sure it fits right, but we will continue on after this stuff hardens. So one of the first things that we need to do is get this bolted down to here. When I put the nutserts for the latch in, when I drilled the holes, I had this fitted properly, and when I did that, I drilled holes through this, and that starts on it. So all I need to do is drill these out a little bit. See if you can see there. I got to drill these holes out a little bit to go around the nutserts, and then we're going to drill probably 4 places for nutserts to go, probably here and here to hold it down, and we'll be done with that. So we'll get to that process right now. And first thing we need to do is drill these guys out, and we'll just take a drill and we'll take a step drill here. So a drill and the step drill, and we'll just drill these guys out until we get clearance. Okay, now this guy sits over the top of these nutserts and everything fits good. So what we need to do now is drill our holes for more nutserts. Now these are 6mm. I'm going to do 5mm in these seats because that just seems to be a little better. Let me see if I can see where I want to do this. I think we'll just do them here and here, which will be fine. Here and here will be fine, and that seat will be held in good. All right, so seat pan's in place, and we'll just drill our way right on through both. Yep, there's one. That's all done. This can come off. Okay, we have holes here. And what we need to do is we're going to be putting nutserts in these holes. So we have our 5mm nutserts, and we'll have to figure out the size of these, drill the holes in the pan exactly the right size, and then we'll set up the nutsert tool, and it will go on ahead and put these in. And using a pair of verniers, we'll figure this out. And these are 6.75mm. So we'll find a drill bit. That's close. Done. Okay, that was simple. We have the nutsert tool, and so all I have to do is change it to a 5mm. Right now, it's got a 6mm in it. So now what we need to do to use the nutserts, the first thing we do is we take one of them and we push it through. Now we'll take all four of them, push them through, get them all set up. So we just push through the holes we just drilled. Now we can push these guys through, and they fit fairly tightly. And then all that you do is you take this tool and you just screw it in. And it goes directly into the nutsert without any real issue. Get it so it's in there, and then you just give it a squeeze. And it is nice and tight. It really pulls it down in there. All I'm doing is taking this and screwing these in. And giving it a pull. Make sure everything's seated good. Yep, it is. And you don't need to go much more than that. That's it. Just till they're tight. And give it a pull. Actually, need to this one just a little tighter. And there it is. Okay, so what's happened here is we got our nutserts in. There's 4 of them in there. This now fits. Though to mount this, all we have to do is put 5mm bolts in here, and the seat mounts. So now we are ready to mount this down, and then what we're going to do is draw a line so it comes right along the side of the seat. So we know exactly where to cut this. We're going to shape this to the exact position, sand down the edges so it doesn't cut through our upholstery, and we'll be ready to start trying to figure out how to make the phone fit. I just got some 5mm screws, and we'll give those a shot. See how that all works out. So now our seat pan kind of indexes itself nicely over the over the latch deals. And so we have our these down. And we just put these screws in. And because we drilled both holes at the same time, our nut certs and everything line up pretty nicely. We've got our seat pan pretty much bolted down to where we want it. So all that we have to do is we're going to draw a line very, very carefully around there and get everything lined up. This one is cut really close here, but we still need to do some trimming. So I've got these markers, and the markers have got long tips. It's a little felt marker, but it's got a long tip, and it's very, very small. So it really does a good job of allowing you to mark all the way around. So now we have lines drawn all the way around. See them? Lines drawn all the way around. So I'm just going to go cut those out, and our seat base will be fitted the way we need to. So now that our seat pan is in its proper shape, it's got all the nut certs in it, and it fits on our seat base perfectly, we need to put the foam in, figure out the foam. Well, I lucked out, and I went to an upholstery shop, upholstery supply shop, and I asked for some motorcycle foam. And they said, they don't have anything like that. I said, for motorcycles. But they said there's this box of things back there that you can go look in. Well, there was a whole big box of this foam. And this foam is really high density. I mean, and it is as perfect as I can imagine. So I'm going to draw out. I'm going to take our seat base. I'm going to draw out where I think it's going to go, and then I'm going to try and cut it. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and cut it with a bandsaw, because that seems to be a good way of dealing with it. And then, if that works, that'll at least get me around, and then I got to try to shape it in the shape I want. I don't even know what that shape is. We're going to put it on the motorcycle, and we're going to see how it aesthetically looks. So first things first is to just draw a circle around this. So let me kind of aim the camera here, and we'll aim it down, because I'm going to kind of do it right here. And I'm going to take that pen that I used to do the other with, and I'm just going to push this down as good as I can, and we'll draw our line around and see how we do. So far, so good. It draws really well, and it stays in good shape. So here we have our line drawn around there. And I'm going to go over to the bandsaw, and I'm going to try and cut this side first, and then because this is enough to make another seat. And just so you can see, I cut along this line, and that's not bad. So that was super easy to do on the bandsaw. It just zipped right through it. So now what I need to do is to figure out the contour of the seat base. And it's not really too terrible here. I mean, it's going to be really close because there was a curve in it already. And so all I'm going to probably have to do is just take a little bit out of here, and that will let this thing lay in the bottom. I mean, I can actually force it into shape without much pressure at all, but I do want to just I'll relieve it just a little bit right in here. So we'll see how that goes, because that may not be so easy to do here, because yeah, I'm gonna have to shape this a different way, and I don't know how to do that just quite yet. But for the most part, this isn't bad. As a matter of fact, what we're going to do here is we're going to lay this here, like it's supposed to be. I'm going to put this here, and I've left a little. Let me move the camera here. So this may just glue down just fine. I may not even have to shape the back. I may have to do a little bit. I've left some extra on the front because the tank, this needs to ride up on the tank a little bit. And so let's just put the tank on here. Okay, so now, with our seat base in place, we can say here, and our tank is up to the edge. But I think what I want to do is just cut this along here and then leave it fairly, well, it's a little long. Well, we'll see how that goes. I need to cut this at an angle though. All right, so now I've got an angle on the front. Let's see what this does. That's still pretty long. Okay, so let's figure out the angle that we need. It looks like. Let me try that. This is going to kind of angle in a little bit. I'm not going to go straight up with it. It's going to angle in a little bit. And then what will happen is we'll figure out the height that we want this. And I'm going to say probably somewhere around in here. We'll just make a nice line, and then this will kind of flatten out in here so there's not much there. And then I'm not quite sure about this yet, but we'll just see how this looks. And then we'll obviously do a better job of doing that. But this will probably do something like that, where it angles up a little bit in here, flattens out, and then this, I'll shape this a little better and then figure out what we're going to do here. And then this is going to probably come back around in this way. I haven't figured it out yet, but the bandsaw makes this thing, cuts through this stuff like butter and does a super clean cut. So obviously maybe a hacksaw or some other blade like that's going to be able to make the job a little easier. Again, I'm going to shave this off a little bit. And that might be just using something like this with a little flex pad on it, and then I can just kind of work it. Matter of fact, I'm going to go grab an air hose. I'm going to go outside with it and see if that actually will work. Well, that worked pretty well. It cuts it fairly quickly. It just in that little bit, it did quite a bit. So I need to figure out what I'm doing here with it. And then once I get that, I can start to figure out how I'm going to cut all the rest of it. But anyway, it's starting to rain, so I can't do that anymore. So once it stops, then I can go back to work. So now we have to figure out how to cut this foam. I've marked it along this line on both sides, and it looks like it's pretty even. But cutting the foam, I can't fit this in the bandsaw. So I think the only other way to cut this is with a hacksaw blade or a hacksaw, and so I'm going to attempt that. I cut a little bit on the corner with a hacksaw. It seems to go through it okay without making too much of a mess. So I guess the thing to do is just continue on very carefully and go from there. We're going to end up with about a 2-inch seat that tapers off a little bit in the back, but for the most part up front, it's about 2 inches. This foam is pretty heavy. So it looks like it's going to go. You know, I just have to kind of cut it, and then what I'll do is I'll cut it a little bit tall and then grind it down with the grinder, because the grinder does work fairly well. So the first thing is you take a good hacksaw blade. Let me adjust the camera a little bit. Yep, and so we're going to just take a good hacksaw blade and work it and see how this does. I don't know how good it does, but it is going. But you have to check, keeping both sides ought to be interesting. This is a 22, I think this is 22 tooth. It's a little finer. I have 18 tooth per inch. But this does seem to be working. Make sure we keep both ends going in the right way, but for the moment, well, was it the best way to do it? No, but it worked. That was not terrible. I can shake this. Here we are. And it's still got some pretty good foam feeling to it. And it's not as crooked as one would think. Not terrible. Not bad at all. So I'm going to try putting this on the bike. And okay, take a quick look at how we're doing. Okay, and there it goes. So now the foam sits here. With a little low in the front. I may have to make a quick little wedge and glue it in. I was hoping it'd be a little taller. I guess I got a little carried away with it. Actually, it's not that bad. But, so we have this thing sitting here. Now what we need to do is probably cut an angle in here, because this doesn't look right, but so far so good. We've got foam. And we cut it with the hacksaw blade. We didn't make a huge mess. Not bad. So now I'm going to do a little more figuring on how this needs to look, and I'll get it all straightened out. But not terrible. This is not bad at all. So now, after a whole bunch of grinding away with this little floppy disk type thing on an angle grinder, which worked really, really well. If you can just hold on to your foam, you can just run it around and it smooths it out very, very, very nicely. This worked really well. But after all that, a bunch of grinding and a bunch of we cut the main shape with the hacksaw. Bunch of grinding. I think we've got a pretty good shape going on here. This angle here is about what I want. It's not straight up. It's just angled in. It's not nuts. So it'll look good. Maybe a few little final things, making these corners exactly roundish the way we need to, but this is pretty good. The front of the tank might need a bit of a wedge here. I cut it just a little short, and I think I want to take a wedge of foam. Got a few wedges floating around here of what I've been cutting off, and I might just bring it up so that it kind of comes close to the top of the tank. Get my hand off of that, but coming close to the top of the tank over here, so it'll look a little bit better. And that's just not a big deal. You just take a wedge and just glue it on, and it'll be just fine. I just sat on it, and this foam is not bad. It's not bad. I mean, it's not the best in the world, but I think you could sit on it for a couple hours without having any major issues. So step 2, foam is basically done. I'll make up the little wedge here and get it all cut up and glued on, and then it's on to upholstery. Eek. Okay, so now that the seat foam has been whittled, I've been whittling away at the seat foam, and I believe I've got it in the perfect shape that I want. It's got the right profile, it fits around the tank, it comes up a little bit at the back here, and the front part comes up over the tank, or up to about the nice level of the tank. So what I need to do here is create the pleated part of the seat. That way I can trace it around, and then I'll trace around the side panels and get those done and add the extra in it so they can get sewed together. I have never done this before from scratch, ever. I've used the sewing machine once, so this ought to be interesting. Cutting the foam was, as you saw that the hacksaw routine I went through, and then using that angle grinder with the little flap disc on it, it really, really makes, you can really do a good job of shaping this foam. This foam is great. It's going to be perfect. So I need to get started and get the sewing machine set up and go on ahead and trace out some pleat lines. I'm thinking about 1.5 inches between the lines. I'll sew those lines into the material, and then I'll lay it on here to get it in the right exact position that I want. Then I can trace around it and get it cut the way we need, and then create the side panels and cut those out and sew everything up. So here we go. So the setup that I have here, you see me, is this is a sewing machine I bought for like $100 and some odd off of Amazon. It's a Singer heavy duty. It's made for doing leather and stuff. And so in lieu of a sewing table, I'm pretty sure that the instructions say you should use a solvent tank. Go figure. And to do this right, you have to have a good place to sit, and the only way you can really do it right is to have a rat fink stool. Makes life right for doing what we want to do. So I need to get the sewing machine up and running. I don't remember how to use it, so I'll fiddle around with that until I get it right. I think I've got everything pretty much figured out. I'm doing a couple little tests things, and then we'll get to lining out our pleats and sewing them up. We'll see how we do. So here is my thought. Um, there needs to be a backing for our pleats. So I've got some 1/4-inch foam here, 1/4-inch foam, and then the backing, I've got an old dish towel, which is pretty heavy duty. It's not terry cloth. It doesn't have anything like that in it, but I can lay this out, put the foam on top of it, and after we line out our pleats, we can sew them together. So that's the plan. Doesn't mean it's going to work out, but we're going to give it a try. So first things first, I need to cut out a piece of the upholstery material, the right size, the same size as the foam basically, or quite a bit bigger. But this is what we're going to be putting our pleats on. So I'll just hit it right about here and just work my way across. This is just some upholstery material I found on Amazon. It's for, I guess it's good enough for marine grade, whatever, and that's fine. I just need to cover these seats. And again, I've never done anything from scratch. I did a little resew on something else, but I never made anything from scratch. Okay, so that's that. So that's the right size. And now what I need to do is take this and put my pleat lines in there, however they're going to be. And then once the pleats are sewn in, we'll lay it on top of it, get it positioned right, and then we can mark it out. So next is marking out our pleat lines. So what I did is I bought some Taylor chalk pencils, and they are, I guess for this we're going to find out. Framing square works perfect. This is 1.5 inches, so that should be just about right. It'll allow me to lay things out here. Get this out of the way. It'll allow me to lay things out and get the 1.5 inch pieces the way I want them. I'm not sure how good a job these pencils are going to be, so we're just going to, well, so far so good. Okay. Okay, then you move it so it's lining up with that. And that looks like the whole shooting match. Now I'll give it one more line. Just in case. All right. So let me get this camera picked up. So what's going on? So here we go. I've marked out the lines for our pleats. And they all seem to be pretty good. So the next thing that we're going to end up having to do here is we're going to take our 1/4 inch foam. We take our 1/4 inch foam, we'll lay that in there, and then we'll take our dish towel. We'll lay that together. And then we're going to end up sewing pleats into all of that. So let me get this ready to go and cut. And we can try to get sewing. This ought to be interesting because I'm just not that good at this stuff. I've never done it before. But we'll see. So to give myself a fighting chance at this thing, I just took some spray adhesive and glued pretty much everything together. So when I go to the sewing machine, I'm not having to fight the foam or anything else. It's not aggressively glued, but it's enough to hold things together and make it so that I have one piece that I'm dealing with. So that's going to be the next trick. Off to the sewing machine. Okay, and what seems like forever getting the sewing machine threaded, here we go. We are going to sew in a pleat. So I'm going to gently get this thing lined up and gently push on it and get this thing kind of rolling and see how we do. Pulling thread, well, must be doing something. Okay. And let me cut this and see how we did. We have a pleat. Not the most perfect pleat in the world, but we have a pleat. I need to get a little bit better at making the lines better, but it ain't bad. Okay, I'm going to continue on. How are our pleats looking? So we got a couple pleats. Keep right on going. Don't stop me now, as Freddie would put it. We've got pleats. And they don't look terrible. They don't look great, but they're not terrible. Once it gets all stretched on there, it should look okay. There's a couple little wrinkles here and there, but nothing too bad. So we will start getting all our other pieces drawn out, and we should be able to continue on. Okay, after marking out our seat pad, I just cut an extra, 3/4 to an inch around the outside. I was trying to film it, but the SD card filled up. So anyway, we got the top of our seat all done, and I went on ahead and I cut around the shape of our seat side. I gave it about, again, the same amount, 3/4 of an inch, and I left it for a couple inches on the bottom. So what's going to end up happening here is the way this is going to get sewn is this is going to connect to that somehow, however I do that, and then it'll be something like this. And then once those get lined up, this goes and gets sewn all the way around in here, and then this goes around this way, and it keeps on going. This ought to be interesting for me because I don't know how to sew. I've never used a sewing machine other than to just once I kind of re-sewed a seat that was on XS650. It was a chopper seat, and I just kind of cut it up and sewed around the outside edge and then put it on there, and it worked out pretty well. But yep, and so this supposedly goes all the way around to that, and it's pretty close. It looks like it's right. So this is how that's going to get sewn in. I'll make sure of the center of it and everything else. But what I was going to say here, let me move the camera up, is this whole upholstery job is relatively inexpensive. The vinyl I got was, it's not super thick. It's easy enough to work with. It's marine grade vinyl, so it's waterproof, and it does, it's not going to be, it'll be plenty durable enough for the rest of this motorcycle's life. But it was really inexpensive, like $12 or something for that. The sewing machine was only like $120. So you've got $12 worth of material here. Some fiberglass, which you can get a bond, any fiberglass kit for relatively inexpensive. I mean, you can spend $20 and have all the fiberglass you need. I spent $14 on the foam, $15 on the foam, and I have enough for 2 seats. And so I'm in this thing, less than, about $175. Well, the last seat I had upholstered cost me over $200. And I've got a sewing machine now, and I can go on ahead and do other seats. And I did another seat. I saved myself another, $100 and some odd by doing all the sewing and gluing it up. So the thing is paid for itself, and every other project that I'm going to do, I'm going to be doing my own seats. And so far, so good. Doesn't mean it's going to turn out great, but so far, so good. I got some more cutting out to do. I'm going to cut out this is the front piece, so I need to get this all cut out. And like I said, the SD card kind of filled up on me because I'm not that good at this video stuff yet. So anyway, I'm going to go on ahead and cut this guy out, and he needs his 3/4 of an inch basically around the top. And we don't have to be that accurate. We just need to line up the lines. I'm going to do a better job of getting everything cut out. But so now this is just the front piece, and it gets sewn in. It's a learning experience here for all of us. And if you know how to upholster stuff, don't pay any attention to me. Just, yell at the screen or whatever you're going to do. Say that's wrong, because it probably is, but we're just doing it the best that we can. I've watched a few videos, and everybody does something slightly different. If we can get a good result, maybe have to unstitch it a few times. And unstitching with that upholstery thread is no picnic. Believe me, it is really, really hard to unstitch. So that's a good sign. At least the thing's not going to fall apart and fly apart on me. So anyway, we are at the point where our pieces are cut out. I need to get everything lined up, get this guy kind of, I guess I'm going to use some sort of clips on it. I don't know what to do quite yet to hold things in place. Maybe say pins or something. And so I make sure that I get all of this stuff in place. But we will see what we will see. So far, so good. Probably kind of look here and see what I've done. Maybe I'll trim this up a little bit better so that it matches on both sides. And then this will be directly to the back. That might just work too. And I can just make a line in the center here, make sure this guy lines up, and then wrap it around that way. We'll see. Like I say, I don't know much about doing this, and never claimed to be a seamstress. The wrenching stuff, all the technical stuff that goes along with motorcycles, all the electronics, that stuff is a cakewalk. I've done so much of this stuff, and I was an engineer at IGT for 18 years, and so and every day of my life with electronics or software and code and all the other stuff, but sewing was not part of it. So I'm going to continue on with this. I'm going to get this cleaned up a little bit, get these guys lined up, and then when we come back, we will be at the sewing machine and giving it our best shot to not mess up. So we'll be back. And not only did I work at IGT for 18 years, but I was also a motorcycle mechanic for a dozen years before that. And I know I'm old, but so all of this technical stuff is just a cakewalk. But like I say, this sewing stuff, and there's a few other things, that I just don't do. But, dealing with metal and refurbishing things and mechanical, lathe, machinist stuff, cakewalk. Sewing, not so much. So what I've done here is I'm getting ready to sew this on. I'm not quite sure. I know what I did is I found the center of the side and found the center of this top, and I'm just going to go on ahead and line those two up. I've got a little paper clip type thing here to hold it from moving around, and I guess the best thing to do is just get to the sewing machine and just start stitching my way along slowly and just following the edges and just let it curl around. And that's the only thing I can think of to do. I'm sure there's a better way to do it. Maybe you hold it all the way around, but I'm just going to go a little bit at a time and just start pushing my way through and curling it up as I go along. So this could be a long, drawn-out process. I'm probably going to have to rethread this thing about 500 times, but oh well. I'm going to give it a shot. So after a bit of struggling and trying to figure out what to do with this thing and getting the front corners and everything lined up so I can sew it, how do I get it to hold together? And then trying to figure out how it looks and everything else I was struggling with that because I'm not good at sewing. And all of a sudden, I thought, wait a minute. Well, not all of a sudden. I had been thinking about it last night. Turn it inside out. Put the cover on inside out, because this is how you would sew it anyway. Get it fitted on there, and then all these flaps and everything, all you have to do, get them in the right spot, figure out where they're going to, how they fold, and so then I think, well, maybe I should use clips or something like that. Then, wait a minute, how about just a stapler? It puts, nice small ones in there. I can put it right up next to the sewing line, so I can actually sew without hitting the staples. And if I do hit a staple, it'll go around it. I'll have to cut the staple out, but that's okay. But this should work great. So I'm going to staple away at this thing. And then the good part is I can flip it back the way it's supposed to be, put it on there, and make sure it looks all right before I start sewing away at it. So I'll go ahead and do some stapling here, and we'll see how it looks. I'll be back. So after all the stapling, I just turned it back out, and it's perfect. You can see it's not, the stitching isn't there because I stapled it, but the corners all came out, and that'll just work perfect. So all I have to do is just sew right along that staple line, and I'm done. Oh, that was just so much easier. And now, with it turned inside out, all that I have to do is now I can just put it in the sewing machine and just go right along this line right here, because it's all stapled together, and it should, in essence, just work. That's going to be dynamite. So now the next thing to do is get the sewing machine all set up and go for it. And I have to draw a new line here to follow along with the staples. But other than that, perfect. So back at the sewing machine. So here I am back at the sewing machine, hopefully for the last time. And I'm going to try and get this done, rolled around in there the best I can. Because I do struggle with this thing. But anyway, we're just going to go slowly and see how we can do this. Here we go. Okay, just gotta be careful as I go through this. I think I'm okay. Okay, this is a little bunched up in here, so I just have to pull. Maybe I'll pull on this a little bit. Yeah. Can do this without hurting myself. Okay, get it turned. Okay, and now I need to get this I'm not sure here. I got to get this kind of flipped over underneath. I'm not sewing that part in. Let's see how this goes, because it's not looking easy at the moment, but I think it's okay. Okay, here we go. We're almost there. Okay. Boom. All right. How did we do? Here it is. Let's turn it inside out, or right side out, and see how we did. So this corner looks good. Went across there, and let me get these staples out now. I mean, it's not a bad sewing machine. It's a Singer. I mean, it's not like it's a terrible machine. It's just not very expensive. It's plastic, but who cares, right? It's just living out here in the shop. I'm not making my living doing the silly thing. I'm sure not good enough to be able to charge somebody to do this kind of stuff, which I don't do anyway. I never charge people for anything I do for them. Okay, I think that's it. So how did we do? So far, so good. It just looks fantastic. Got a fairly straight line in front. Corners look like it came out okay. It may not be perfect up there, but looking pretty darn good. So we now have a seat cover. The next thing we're going to do is we got to make sure that the foam is fitting right. We may put another layer of foam, a thin foam over the top of it. We'll see how that goes. I mean, I've got some 1/2 inch and some 1/4 inch I can put over the top of it. We'll see how, again, we'll see how that goes. And then get a final fitting on the base, make sure it's not protruding anywhere, sand down, whatever we want to do on the seat pan. But we have got a cover. And I think I'm done with the sewing machine. So we'll be back when we start fitting the thing on. So we're ready to go on ahead and glue. We've got everything. Everything has been shaped. Everything is nice. The cover is as good as it's going to get with my sewing. And so the next thing to do is we just need to glue it on there. So that way we can finish up this job and we can move on. So I'm going to go get some glue, and I think what I'll do here, the way I'm going to go about it, I'm going to use contact cement. I'm going to spray the bottom of this and get it ready to go. And then what I'm going to do is I'll get the contact cement on the bottom of the, or around the bottom of the vinyl, and I've marked kind of where I want the back of it to be. Then I'll pull the front to get it in about the right place, and then once that's done, I can then start working my way around the sides, and hopefully I don't mess it up. I think it's going to be okay. What I'm going to use is this DAP Weldwood contact cement. Fairly high strength. I've used it before. It seems to work okay. So away we go. Hopefully I don't mess this up. And the good part, we can get it off of there if necessary. So I'm going to kind of try and do this on camera. Oh, it's not bad. Just give it a nice, it's not spraying all over the place. Kind of just, I probably should wear gloves, but that might be a pain because it, okay, sprayed. And I'm thinking maybe the best thing to do here is just take the foam out and kind of just spray around the try and do this without making a mess. I think what I'll do is I will just take a piece of paper towel, get this pointing at the right stuff here, and we'll get a piece of paper towel so I don't make too much of a mess, and I'm just going to spray. We're going to take this guy, and we're going to pull it like that. I don't know if this is right, but we'll see. Oops. Okay, so far so good. I'm going to take this, and now I'm going to pull this one right around here. Okay, I'm going to take this guy, push this down, pull it right around there, so it's got the same. Let's see how we're looking. Not terrible. Maybe that's a little tight, though. I'm thinking, yeah, well, we'll see. You just have to keep working it, because you have to kind of pull and stretch and see how we do. Okay, not terrible there. Okay, let's pull and stretch this one a little bit more. Even? Pretty close. Okay. Let's get the back sorted out now. I'm going to say that is, what do we have here? I guess it looks about the same. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's about as good as this seat is probably going to get. Okay, so here we go. This is our seat. I got to do a little trimming. I'm going to do a little trimming around these edges here to get the excess off. But it's glued together. It is reasonably nice all the way around. And it's going to fit on this really nicely. Oh yes, that's not bad at all. What I think I need to do here is loosen up the front a bit so that it comes out a little more. It seems that with all the packing we've done here, we have pulled the front so it's not in the position that we want. We want it to curl over a little bit more. So I'm going to relax the front just a bit. Let's see what that does. Oh yeah, that's definitely better. And there we have it. We have got a seat. I'll do a little trimming on it. I'll bolt it in, but it sits in there the way it's supposed to. It looks pretty good. I don't see any issues at the moment. Is it perfect? No. Is it good enough? Absolutely. Not terrible. I'm just going to go over and make sure all the details are good, trim it, and that will be that. Brand new blade in here. Let me do a cut. See how this goes. Now I think I'll take scissors there. We'll just take off and grab a whole bunch of this extra. Yeah. That's good. Now it folds over. Folds over. And that pretty much nails the seat. Our seat is basically done. And so what we can do now is I'm going to grab some screws and we'll screw that down to the base. Here's our seat base. And all we do is we get this in its place. There's a couple of pins in there that actually from the latch that we use. And is everything lining up? Yeah, pretty good. Not bad. We'll two. Yeah, I gotta get it aimed correctly here. There we go. At the Here is our seat base. Seat all upholstered, ready to go. It is ready for paint, and all we have to do is just paint the silly thing. And I may have to trim this a little bit in the front. It just all depends on how everything fits, but for the most part, we are done. The seat is a seat. Not bad for do-it-yourself. Didn't take us very long. Hopefully these little wrinkles will come out the first time I set it out in the sun. But for the most part, we've got a pretty decent looking seat. This guy just hooks over the frame like that, like that. It can only go into one spot, and then you just done. And it is solid on there. It is up against the tank. It looks pretty much perfect. Let me take the camera and let's see if we can aim it so you can see. So there we are. And here's how it fits up against the tank. And it's a little weird angle, but yeah, you get the angle right, and it's not bad. Is it perfect? No. Again, I'm not this is my first attempt at upholstery from scratch, and it didn't turn out too bad. We got a few little bumps or things in there which should, even out a little bit after a while, but it's a good seat. It looks great. It looks better than one I had made for a lot of money. So this guy is ready for paint. So that's going to do it for the seat video. The seat base is ready for paint. The seat pad is all done, ready to go. And so the next thing we'll be doing is starting to get we might do paint. We'll see. Or we have to deal with the exhaust on this thing. The exhaust that came with it that I got with it is in rough shape, so I'm going to have to chop it off and do something with it. I don't know what I'm going to do quite yet. So anyway, that is it for this video. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully I didn't make it too hard to understand. Sewing is sewing for me. And don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.